Hi guys, this is Marcus Jones, Time and Labor Implementation Coordinator through the Ahola Corporation. Today I'm recording a video on how to make adjustments as a manager or supervisor or admin through iSolved Time. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. The function of managers, supervisors, as well as admins can be to make any changes or deletions on the time card, add employee absences, add time off requests, as well as approve time off requests submitted by your employees. So first off, we'll talk about what your roles are and how you do things in time. Um, as you are enrolled in self-service, you'll notice that you'll have the availability to go from employee to your manager view up at the top. If you are assigned as a manager or supervisor, once you click this drop down, you'll have access to a supervisor or manager view, which will bring you to a dashboard. And from there, you can maintain all of your employees and employee self-service with the subcategory of time and the time card. I have my test employee up, and he is ready to have some impact be made on his time card. As you can see, there are some punches that kind of make sense, while others are there's a lot of disparity. So we're going to clean this up and show you how to make adjustments onto the time card. First off, the system will look for any missed punches, which are odd punches in the system that have not been grouped. As you notice that this Sunday punch at 7 a.m. was added, however, there was no alteration, and the duration has not been totaled. Managers and supervisors, as well as admins, will have impact on the time card simply just by clicking. Once you click on, you have the option of adding either an hour or a record. When you add an hour, you can add specific ranges of time, which could be an in and out punch, whether between the day, in the middle of the day, or an entire day. You will have access to adjust and manipulate any days as well as type in any times. So if I wanted this to be 8 to 2, I can do that. However, in this case, because we already have one punch, we don't want to add a record for hour because, again, the system looks for paired grouping, and adding an in and out duration would create another odd punch throughout this day. So to group correctly, we're going to add an actual punch, which is just one sole punch, which will group with the 7 a.m. punch that needs to be paired. I'll go ahead and type in the time, and keep in mind the system does recognize military time. You could also leave notes or specify if there is a department change. From there, you can leave the rest normal and auto and click save. Any changes you make onto the time card need to be saved, and this button up top in the top left corner is show results. That saves your actual punches and adjustments made on the time card. Now you see that red punch, which was a critical error as an alert, is now gone, and paired with this punch, which builds this duration, labor, and the alert is gone. Without correcting this punch, you will not be able to do the verification tool as a manager or supervisor, and payroll will not be able to be successfully moved over and be processed. So it's very important that this function is done. On days where you notice that there are a lot of punches being out there, sometimes our employees will double punch at the clock, not being aware that they may or may not have already punched the system or couldn't remember if their punch saved, things like that. If you ever needed to either remove time and replace it with something, an easy way to get rid of these punches there's twofold. One way is you can actually click on and click this trash can, which shows that you're actually deleting either the bunches of times, the box times. I can delete this way, or I can remove entire days simply by clicking up top the little drop down next to the actual date and actually click delete day. The system will ask you, are you sure you want to do this? And keep in mind, any deletions on time cards whether their punches or hours deleted or the entire day, cannot be undone and will simply need to be redone in the system. So I can remove all these days either by the trash can or delete the day. Another cool way to add hours onto a time card is the drag and drop function. So holding onto your the left clicker on your mouse, you can actually drag and drop the amount of time. And as you notice, the system does recognize the distance between where your mouse goes and runs parallel on this column over here to my left. Once I let go, the system asks you, do you want to add the record for punch or hour? And by simply clicking hour, the system sees the time that I highlighted over, and I can just click save. And once I'm done, I can click show results. Okay. Let's say this Wednesday, instead of having work time, we want to add an absence. You can simply do that by either entering absences here in employee absences in 1-day occurrences, or if it is accrual based such as a vacation or a PTO and you need to do multiple days, you can do it here in time off request. So I'm going to go ahead and add a record for this test employee on that Thursday, and to make sure that it's on that Thursday, I just click on the calendar. It allows me to pick the Thursday that I want to make impact on. And in this case, I'll go ahead and add it as jury duty. If you want, you can specify a start time. This could be really good if you want to recognize this according to a scheduled time. And a good cool function of the system is that when you add absences, if you are using the scheduler tool, they will be reflected in the schedule. So as a manager or an admin, I can go ahead and add an absence like jury duty, which is not accrual based, and it will automatically get saved and credited on the time card. Now notice that I put this on the same day that this employee is already working. So never fear, there's no issue. You also see that the notes that I put in are saved on the time card. I can go into employee absences, and as an admin or a manager, I can go in and change the day that I want to make impact on. So if I have something where someone is scheduled to be off and they come in, I can simply click this trash can in employee absences. If an employee asks for time off in a time off request and you approve it and you need to modify or delete the days, you can come into the employee absences and modify whether it's jury duty, vacation, sick, PTO, any of these. Ordinarily, the system will start out with the ones that the employee cannot request off in the absences. Afterwards, you can ask for things like sick and vacation, which are time off requests typically, where we want the employees to try to make those requests off first, or as managers, you can do it in here as well. So I'll go back to jury duty. And if I leave this blank because it doesn't have an asterisk, the system will default it to midnight on the day that you are adding the absence to. So now I've moved it in there. System recognizes that. Again, if I leave it blank, it goes up to midnight. Still records the same hours. So on this time card, you'll also notice that there is a faded box here. This is what's called a shift, and a collection of shifts create a schedule. One of the newest workflows that you will be seeing as an organization is that you'll be utilizing schedules for the shift differential hours allocation rule. So what will happen is, as long as the employees work within the specific guidelines, that will have allowances that will allow them to come in if they need to in certain instances, they will be credited with the shift differential. So as long as they work within these realms and they punch in and out throughout the day, you will notice that the way to credit them with that is they need to work within this specific realm. If you guys have any issues with the shift differential of any sorts, please feel free to see your admin, and we'll make sure that we make any corrections or additional training on how we can allocate hours toward shift differential. Now this is still in the works, so don't fret. It is still something that we are continuously working on. However, once we have that tool in there, the system will recognize things as like the shift differential in this case. So since this day is done and this employee hasn't clocked out yet, I'll let the rest of these punches be. Keep in mind, as a manager, you may have things such as verification, where you need to verify that a time card is up to date and accurate. You can simply click the checkbox up at the top left, and the system will recognize it and verify it as successful. The only thing that will prevent you from verifying a time card is if there is a missing punch alert on someone's time card. Verifications are best for the end of the pay period. You can verify at any moment and any day. Just keep in mind if there are any changes made. So if I add another punch or if an employee punches in the system, this verification will be unverified because there are new hours and new data, and the system doesn't want to blanket all of those or ignore the changes onto the time card. You can also unverify if you wanted to, and the system will send you and show you a time and date stamp. Okay. Request time off is also another function that you could use if there are any accruals based, and in this case this test employee does not have any accruals, but if they are assigned to anything where they can request time off, you can use this tool for any multi-day request off. So PTO and vacation in your cases would be things where maybe a Monday through Friday or 2 or 3 days you could do that. And once you put these days in, the system will recognize the dates that you have selected. And once you type in the hours per day, the system will recognize the amount of hours that you have requested. And once you put the actual absence in there, if they have accruals and when they have accruals, they'll actually give you a snapshot of how many hours have been totally requested, how many will be after, and how many they plan on having throughout the year. You also have access to the time card report, where you can actually see a report where you can see where all the time card information has been allocated and paid out or unpaid. So in this case, these days are regular. The bottom Wednesday day, it's a jury duty, and then when Friday has those hours, then you'll also see additional hours put on here. If there are any unpaid, they'd be totaled here. Any changes in labor or job summaries would be labeled here. And then you could, if you wanted to verify, you could see an e-stamp on here as well once you verify the time card. Preview check on this view is typically only for admins, so you won't see this. This won't have any impact, and it is not the most accurate for anyone typically to traditionally use. If you have any check previews or impact that you would need to see hours or figures based on how much an employee is making on all their hours worked, please see your admin. Next, I'm going to touch over the time off request admin function. So in this case, you're going to have the ability to go in and approve time off requests or deny them. When you go to your time off request admin, you'll be able to go to and look a calendar view on all the approved, processed, denied, and pending requests. You can go through a day by either double clicking and seeing what all these people's requests are, the status of them, or if you want to see all the pending requests out that are in your jurisdiction, simply clicking here for pending requests. If there are any, you can go ahead and double click them. Once you double click them, you have a button that says approve or deny. I do have a PDF that I have supplied your admin with, and if you follow along with that, it'll also give you a snapshot of what that looks like. Once you do that, it goes on this time card, and it also shows in the scheduling. So I'll go ahead and show you how that looks in the scheduler. So here's my test employees jury duty. So just in case you ever needed to schedule a day, you also notice that there are absences for certain employees, as well as some of their shifts that they are already listed in. Outside of that, these are the core values of what your management are going to use, how you all are going to be using the time. Verifications, adding, removing time, adding absences, and approving time off requests. For any questions, please feel free to see your admin. And other than that, everyone have a great day, and thank you for watching.